So, yeah, this is in French, but you'll quickly get the, no. It's really, look, the French people listen to slides in English all the time. Okay, no, but this is a little graphic thing, you'll see, and then Marie will take, okay. So, this is a talk that I give about scientific publication.
That's a talk who convinced me about now 10 years ago that it's a very important problem. And Loretta's played a tremendous role for me.
Well, okay, my main thing is that I introduced her to it. Okay, so I'm just going to present 10 slides and then she's going to take over. Okay, so
if
here's...
those slides have the same effect on you than on me, beware.
Okay, so here is basic economics that you tell your little child. Here is Okay, here is economics for a little child. You have here the company in the middle. You know, Sorry? Oh, yeah, good idea. Wait, I
Pointer's right here. Here's a
pointer. I can't move because...
Oh, they're conjoined twins.
Yeah, conjoined twins, right, okay. Right, okay, so here you have a company. Here you have a company. Say you take your child to the store and the child, thinks you have lots of money. And this and that. You explain to the child that although you go to the store, you have to pay money to the company, the supermarket, say, and the supermarket is paying its employees, say, right? And the employees make the product and it goes back to the company, right? The product goes to the company and the money goes to the employees. And as for this thing, the consumers pay money to the company and the company gives them the product, right? This is all very simple and you explain it to your children when they're about 4, something like that, right? Okay, now, in scientific publishing, it's the same thing where you have the publishers here, the researchers make the articles, and the libraries buy the articles, they give money and they get the articles, and the researchers are giving the articles to the company. But there's an arrow missing, right? It's not quite the same? Yeah, right? Okay, so in fact, you have to close this, right? We know about closure. And here's the closure. This is research funding, or university, by which I include universities or anything wherever the research money comes from, way up high, universities and anything. And it's paying the it's the budgets for the libraries eventually, the taxpayers or something, right? Eventually pay for university libraries, right? Somehow through the funding of and also pay the researchers and the professors, right? This is money that comes from the university, say, which in turn comes from the taxpayers, funding agencies, and so on, right? So that's where all the money comes from. None of the money is coming out. The money is only coming in this way, right? Okay, now let's continue to close it. So, it's weird. And this is also true of other classes of people, not really other classes of people because we're all the same people, researchers or referees or editors who are all the same people, and all of them are being paid by people other than the publishing houses, and they, the money also comes from them. Now the publishing houses can be divided into, this is at least 2 kinds. There's other kinds too that Marie will tell you about. Marie is much more modern. This seminar was made about 10 years ago and has not evolved much since. So I'm merely talking about 2 kinds of publishing houses, the learned societies, university presses, things like that, non-profit versus profit. Okay, and how can you tell the difference? Well, the profit ones have stockholders. Most of the words you can figure out from French, right, because they look like the words in English, but not this one. This one took me a while. This is stockholders. And this is executives. They don't look at all like their English equivalents, right? Stockholders and executives. And do you say executives anymore? That seems like a word I don't hear anymore. It seems like a word from my childhood. Isn't there a new word? I remember first time I heard CEO, I said, what is that? CEO. I don't think we said that 30 years ago, CEO. I'm thinking. Anyway. So again, they're following the money around. The publishing houses, the commercial ones, give money to the stockholders and to the executives. And this is, naturally as companies do, but this is very non-negligible. That is to say, the returns on academic publishing are extremely high. They resemble that of Apple. They're not normal. they're not normal capitalist sort of returns. They're like Apple, which after all makes something themselves.
Google is 20% and they are
But-
up to 30.
But I'm not against Google. We're not talking about Google. Executives have the kind of salaries that CEOs now have, which is in the millions, the tens of millions, whether it's pounds or euros or whatever. And so you might think, well, maybe, okay, so these don't do that, but maybe somehow there's a subsidy by the learned societies, or maybe the other way around. Maybe the learned societies are being maybe the nonprofits perhaps are being subsidized by the learned societies, or maybe the other way around, right? Not sure quite how, since this is not a self-contained thing. So that's not so clear. But in fact, this factor is negligible compared to the other factors. So we follow the idea is then just to follow the money and see that this is where it ends up. This is like a river, right? Public money is ending up here. So this is not capitalism in the normal sense. This is normally called corruption, right? Isn't it? When public money goes to heads I win, tails you lose.
Business school.
What about tomorrow?
No.
Privatize profits, socialize losses.
Right. Okay. I don't think those are the words.
That is capitalism as capitalists practice.
No, those are not the words they use in business school. Surely, those are the words that militants. They don't say privatize profit. No,
they do.
That's radicals that say that that's what they're doing.
No. Okay.
Isn't that so? That's an anti-capitalist
they
slogan.
say that themselves.
Oh, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Well, they know the game.
You don't go in the right cycle.
But aren't they? Okay. Anyway. Okay. So.
I think I read that in The Economist, which is hardly a
So
socialist
you're saying,
organization.
so of that river of money, you're saying
Yeah.
not much ends up into the societies.
Sorry.
You're saying of that river of money, not much ends up in what the library's paying, right?
No. This is where it is.
What I'm saying is, but libraries buy the
Yes.
journals, but of that fraction that goes to journals, what fraction of that goes to the societies? Is that a small fraction of the commercial or large?
I think I'm not prepared to talk about this. Okay. I'm just going to say that these arrows here, not this one. This is a large arrow, but the other arrows are negligible compared to these arrows and that one. Okay. So, but this is not a new thing. We've had journals since forever. And until 1985 or so, things were okay and nobody complained. And since then, there have been a lot of changes. We do LaTeX, and that's for production, so they don't have any cost of production. There's the web, so there's no cost of distribution. So you would think the prices, and so there's electronic subscriptions, you would think the prices would have gone down a lot. But instead, they have gone up by, on the order of, for some years, 10% annually, which, like the profits, as I said, is extremely large. It's way above cost of living and so on. Although you would think that the prices had gone way down.
There is no inflation nowadays.
Someone has to pay for the archives too.
Sorry?
Someone has to pay for the archive to keep the web going, the site.
Yes, that's true. But that is not.
Again, it's public money. Okay.
Yeah.
It's public money. It's
Okay.
decided by public money.
Okay.
At least in France.
It
At least in
depends.
France.
Yes, there's surely many details, many closures that I'm not taking into account. This is very order zero thing that I certainly recognize that many things that are considered kind of free because we experience them as free are not necessarily free. But the big thing, that the order zero thing, is that researchers experience articles as being free because they just get them on the web and they don't have any idea how much they cost or what the library is doing and the budget and the share of the budget and which ones are more expensive. That's the order zero thing, getting things for free. And I got a lot of things from. Again, this is an old talk, as you can see, but this is the price rises of journals in various disciplines.
Is that price increases or is that price?
Yes, I think it's price.
Yeah.
That's right, even though it says increases. I understand. I've had trouble with
It
this
was written
before.
by
I know.
library science.
That's exactly right. Okay, and there's a word for all this, which is economists have a word which is inelastic. That is to say, normally, what keeps prices in check as if you raise your prices, then your competitors, the consumers will go to the competitors, right? And they will buy the products of the competitors instead of you, so you'll have to lower your prices again. But no, inelastic is when that doesn't happen. You can raise your price and the consumers will still come. There's a lot of examples of products like that. You know, you don't say to your fiance, I got you a diamond ring and it was a real bargain. I got it for half the price. No, you say, I got you the most expensive diamond ring possible. You know, the price is part of the factor. That's one kind of thing. And there are a number of exceptions to this usual. But one of the exceptions is journal prices, because you don't say, Proceedings of the Royal Society is too expensive, so I'm going to, I want this article by Mike Graham, but I can't afford that one because of subscription. So instead, I'm going to take Predrag's article. No, if you want his, article, you want his article and only his article, and you are completely unaffected by the price in your mind and your intention by the price that it costs, which is, the subscription price or whatever. It is completely. Similarly, if you want JFM, well, you just can't do without it. And it's not because you don't take that into account. You don't go to the store and say, well, let's see, JFM, well, physics of fluids is cheaper, so I think I'll go with physics. You just don't take that into account at all. So whatever increases happen, as happens here, these are the prices, these are the unit costs here. The consumption just goes up, just follows them. They can raise their prices. It's non-negotiable. And okay, so I'll have a couple. Well, I don't want to take up all the time. I want to give it to Marie. It's okay. Okay, but I'll try and go really fast. Okay. Then there's, you've all heard of open access. To me, and then there's these different terms: gold, green, diamond, and Marie will talk a lot about that. But I don't like those terms because they mean nothing. Everybody says, "What's gold?" Okay. Yeah. Okay. So to me, let's use terms that really mean something. The reader pays, the author pays, or the institutional government pays. Right? Reader pays, that's not really reader pays because the individual readers, it's the library subscription. The author pays, those are page charges that you pay for publishing. And the institution pays, that's archive or your university website or your personal website or stuff like that. Okay, so here I say a lot of French, so you don't. Okay, my point here says that some people say, oh, you pay to publish. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes just as much sense as paying to read. This is not fiction we're talking about. We do not read for pleasure and publish as work. On the contrary, reading is just as much part of our work as writing. The two are the same thing. It doesn't really matter. We are the consumers of the scientific articles and the producers. We're the same thing. And it doesn't matter whether the money goes through the library budget or through the research budget. It's coming basically from the same source. However, there can be, as there have been abuses that we've seen as author pays has come up, they scam journals that can grab your articles one at a time since you're paying for them, and other things. So the distinction is not theoretically important, but it actually has been kind of important in practice.
Here a comment, in case we didn't have time to discuss that in detail later. I'll come back to this. Mm-hmm. You see, she very rightly said reader pays, author pays, but in fact, reader's pays means the library pays, and the scientists still have no idea of how much it costs. And author pay, beware, the new tendency, you probably have seen it, is that in the negotiation with the libraries, they include now the article processing charge, like the Max Planck Society has signed a contract with Springer for both subscription and article processing charge. What does this mean? If you are a member of an institute, a laboratory from the Max Planck Society, then if you publish with Springer, you feel it's free. You are still exactly in the same beautiful world where everything is free. Then, of course, you're only going to publish with Springer because another one, like KPS or some other journal, will ask you article processing charge. So it's created a new bias in the market, which is even, I consider, worse than the previous one.
Well, so it seemed to me at first that author pays would be better because researchers would then have an idea of distinctions between prices. There they could say, JFM costs half the price of physics of fluids to publish. Well, they're about equivalent. So I guess I'm going to go with JFM. Thus, you would say, right? You would have an idea of how much, instead of it coming from God, as is currently the case, you would have an idea, and you would go to, there would be price competition for the different journals. So I thought that was a good thing. But then came all the scam journals and the things that Marie is talking about.
And it is a strategy of the publisher that the scientists have no idea of the cost.
Yes.
It's really their strategy. The day we know, they are finished.
That's right. That's exactly so, and that's why.
Because they're capitalists and they hate competition.
Of course.
That's exactly what they want.
So I have a question. So these agreements you're talking about with Springer, are they is it like a lump sum that the Max Planck agreed with Springer per year, or is it per article that is published from Max Planck #1?
Okay. The intention that the origin was very nice. The intention is because the present situation is many journal, you are still with subscription, so librarian-based subscription, but because you probably know your institution or your funding agencies, like the European Commission in our case, ask that the paper should be made open access, it's mandatory.
Yeah.
Therefore, those journals say, no problem, pay me article processing charge in order your paper be open access, which means now they win for subscription and article processing charge.
So this
the
word shouldn't be used
Society
there.
and also probably CERN with Scope 3 process, they have this good idea to say, we should not let that do this. We call it double dipping. Though now they manage that, they pay subscription, both subscription and article processing charge together to make sure that they don't pay more.
Both for publishing and for reading.
Because all that is negotiated by the library or the Max Planck Society or the CERN, scientists have no idea of the negotiation, therefore they have no idea of the price. This is where there is the weak point.
It's like the healthcare industry. The consumers have no idea of the price.
This recent controversy in the news where Poland, a few countries in the EU, I think all of German universities, they don't have access. Is this
okay? The story, it's a slightly different story. Just presently, Germany is doing something nice, which is instead of letting each library from each university negotiating with the publisher, they made this kind of joint negotiation with Elsevier. And as a result, the negotiation is very tough, what Elsevier was not ready for. And then Elsevier said no to what the other were asking. And those negotiations are broken. The contract was not supposed to be, the contract was starting January, is not yet signed. And I can bet you what's happened. Now, of course, Elsevier tried to renegotiate and be nicer. But this negotiation can last forever. You know why? Because Elsevier will never cut the access to
And they know that the researchers will be writing to the librarians and saying,
know.
I want my journal. And the librarians say, we're negotiating because the price increase is factor of 2, factor of 4. And I don't care about all that stuff. I'm a researcher, I need my journals. The researchers are not behind this. And that is why it's very important to make researchers aware. It's as if you didn't have a union. It's as if, every library is doing this, and behind them they have no support. They have all the researchers who are just saying, don't tell me about the prices. That's not my business.
So what is going on in Germany is very important and has to be followed.
So that's at KTH we recently stopped having subscription to JFM.
At all, not electronic, yeah.
So we cannot download JFM papers anymore.
Yeah,
And that's everybody's super upset.
I can imagine. Now JFM, though, to me, my mind, is a reasonably priced journal. Maybe Marie says differently, but that's what I think. And in any case, I always say about those things, they don't have stockholders, so the money isn't going in. But again, this is one of the points of disagreement between Marie and me, so I'm not going to go into that right now. I'm almost finished. Okay, here's another, remember I showed these other slides. Let me show you another one here. This was something that they did when they came in, that comes from the time of going to electronic publications. Okay, so here is something that shows the revenues, say on 100 and some units, from buying it. The staff of 20, print and papers 13. You see, this is what it was when you had paper and online. Now you go to online only, then the revenues are going to lower the price because you have no paper. 90. Staff about the same because they're sending out the emails to the referees and so on. No print or paper, whatever. So now you have when you've taken the 100 minus the cost, you get 37. And when you have 90 minus the cost, you get 43. An increase in profitability of 16%. And now comes the punchline, which is, where do these slides that say exhibit this and that come from? They come from a brochure sent by Morgan Stanley on behalf of Elsevier to get investors to invest. That is, they are saying, scientists lose, we win. They are boasting about this. They are boasting that it is inelastic. This was not sent by some militant library association. This was sent by Morgan Stanley. Associated Research Libraries got a hold of the Morgan Stanley pamphlet on behalf of Elsevier to show, see, they're not going to stop buying. We can do whatever we want. This was a positive point, which makes sense. Money from us goes to them. What's our loss is their gain. And their actions are totally, I'm not even saying they're evil. They're totally rational. The point is that, if you could ask whatever price you wanted for something and people just come like sheep to pay, well, maybe you'd do it too. That's how capitalism is supposed to work. The point is that scientists and science organizations should fight back and not just accept this and not be like sheep going to the slaughter.
And this
that's the
Morgan
end.
Stanley report is 2003, if I remember well.
That's right.
Which means it's not recent. We are just unconscious of that, but it's an old story. They are selling us or making money on us. We don't even just know about it.
Okay. Well, Mary, in case she's not going to say this, I'll just mention this. We can all, if you haven't done it, you can sign the boycott. And the thing is, unlike the nice thing about signing the boycott of Elsevier is it's a win-win situation. And every time a referee report comes in, you don't have to do it. I'm serious.
No, really, it's true. You say I've signed it.
I've signed it. I'm not doing it.
Elsevier doesn't have the worst practices, but they have the worst integral because they're so big. There are other publishing has worse practices. Taylor and Francis is worse, but Taylor and Francis is a smaller share. So you integrate evil by number of journals, and it's Elsevier that's the worst.
And we don't agree, right, on a kind of slight detail with Laurette, we disagree.
Well, you can say your point of view.
Yes, we disagree about the fact that I know some society, I mean, maybe I can give name, American Chemical Society.
But they're not an exception.
No, wait a second. Who are people, no, there are several of them. Who are
there are a few
publishers, and those academic society, their business, all their earning come from the publication cost. Though they are very happy that the big guys like Elsevier push price up and they just follow. And their practice, some has even much worse practice in terms of allowing us to deposit our manuscripts as in open access. I mean, I know several, I'm not going to give names where even they don't allow even the version you submitted for publication, I mean for peer reviewing is not allowed to be put.
But I know several of the opposite. We know that APS,
no, I know. But
just
message, be very, open your eye about the society you know of, and because we are the member of the society, at least here. And that's where I agree with Laurette, it's much better. Because society, we are the member of the society, that we can change the system. While Elsevier, the commercial one, I mean, only shareholders, and we are not going to be shareholders, we don't have enough money for that, but we cannot change it.
But you have to be able to careful, because even the APS is actually moving for them.
I know, that's why I disagree with that.
Corporate structure, they hire the publisher, they are struggling with, how to move to this open access, they're trying to move over to that within 4 years.
I know well the problem, because I'm following that, and you see, you have to see that the poor, let's say, poor, quote, academic society, they are obliged to compete with the big guys. If they don't compete with the big guys with the same methods as the big guys, they just are out of business, they are killed. That's where it's something desperate. And again, I'm back to the point, as long as we, the scientists, we don't know the problem, we will just let all this, in French we say dérive, I mean this kind of development, abuses, yes, developing. Okay, so I want to limit myself in this first part of the talk, and maybe for the open discussion we can enlarge to many other things. But I want to show you a new platform we are developing at École Normale. Well, actually, it's completely independent of École Normale Supérieure, but it's made by students. I mean, computer science, very bright students. They were asking me like 3 years ago to give some lecture about open access. And right away, the young, you have to really rely on the young because they're amazing. They asked me to give a lecture. The next morning it was on YouTube. And about 1 year later, they came and showed me what they are already started to do, which is very impressive. Though that's what I want to demonstrate to you. It's a platform to help scientists to deposit their paper in open access. Because the solution, if we don't sign contract for reading the paper anymore, if everything is already either in archive or in some other repository, we don't mind too much. We can still keep our work, we can read the paper. Though we try to push this strategy
which is called green open access. That means the principle, we keep the academic freedom to publish where we want. I consider we should keep some journals, the good journal in a given community should not disappear. They should be maintained and somewhere, if it's by subscription, because this is the business model of the publisher, why not for a while keep it as subscription, not run right away to full open access, as long as we have the green, which means as long as each author is allowed to put his version on the web, open access in some repository like archive or some others I'm going to show you here. Though this is, as a transition, we consider the best strategy. It might not be the final solution because, you know, where the problem is coming from is very simple. Publishing, the publishing system until, let's say, end of the 20th century was based on printing, on paper, and we didn't have any, yet we didn't have the web. Therefore, each copy of a good paper should be in each main library in the world. Though the business model of the publisher makes sense, we never complain about it. And what was the business model of that time? The publisher owned the paper because we transfer our copyright to the publisher. The publisher owned the journals and all the assets. By assets, I mean all our referee report, all that belong to the publisher. So that's the standard model which has been working for, let's say, the last 200 years at least, even more, since the proceeding of the Royal Society and the Journal des Savants, which was 1660. So this industry for publishing and printing was very successful, and we never complained until the arrival of electronic publishing and the web. Though you have to consider that there is no continuity between one system and the other system. But for the sake of making profit, publishers want to do electronic publishing with the business model of printing and no internet. You see, though that either we let them do that or not. Though our goal with this platform is to try to break that. Okay, though the platform is called disseminate.in, and our goal is to spot all the papers for each scientist, whatever the discipline, whatever the country where the scientist is working from. We will list all his papers and sort which one are under subscription, that means behind paywall, and which one are already open access. And for those who are open access, we are providing a very simple system where in one click you put your paper in open access. That's what I want to demonstrate to you. So it's made, okay, the person who has the idea, who is the founder of that and the main developer of that, he was student and now he's at École Normale, and since October he's doing his PhD in computer science at Oxford. So it's Antonin Delpech. He has been, I don't know if people know the Spark. Well, maybe if you are a librarian, you know about Spark. He has been made open access champion by Spark Europe. And the other member of the team is Pablo, who is now maître de conférence, Thomas, who is doing his PhD at MIT, Antoine, who is maître de conférence at France Télécom, and myself. So we create a small not-for-profit association, and everything is auto-financed. I mean, and you will see the budget is very small. All what I'm showing to you now is costing €500 per year, because we have the name domain disseminate.in in India, and we run the server ourselves. We are completely independent up to now, and of course we appreciate donation, and now we start to have some institutions who ask us to do some work with them, so now we are getting donation. Okay, so I demonstrate how do you do. So you go, so there is a platform, disseminate.in, and I just say that for Laurette, because yesterday I made a demonstration to her. We also have the new beta version, which is not yet open to the public, but I test it with your name, and sandbox disseminate.in, and now I have many more of your publications.
Okay, then you need the beta.
I am maybe going to demonstrate the sandbox later, but this is the standard one. Okay, so you put the name of the person. If you have an ORCID number, who doesn't know what is an ORCID number? Okay, so you all know about ORCID, and it's soon going to be mandatory. The problem, if you have not already put your own paper on ORCID repository, your ORCID number is not enough to find your paper. ORCID is going to be used by publisher from now on, which means your new paper will automatically be seen if you put your ORCID number. But for the past paper, when ORCID didn't exist, you have to put yourself your paper on ORCID. Okay, you have to know that. Though, when you do that, then that lists a paper. What is interesting, each paper are sorted with this kind of logo. Yellow means the paper can be downloaded from the publisher website. Therefore, it's, you have to pay. If it's green, that means it's in a repository like archive, which means you can download. It's open access. Well, oh no, sorry, I said something wrong. Everything here is open access. But if it's yellow, that means the author has paid article processing charge, and the paper is on the website of the publisher. The other green, that means they're on open repository like archive. But what is more interesting, they are the ones which are not yet in open access, and we look at a website which is called Sherpa Romeo, where for each publisher you have the policy in terms of which version of the paper you are allowed to deposit legally. I mean, is it the preprint, is it the postprint, is it the published version, and that will be, the system will tell you. So when it's blue, that means we are 100% sure the author, you are authorized to deposit your author version. When it's gray, that means for this publisher we don't know. And in black, that means it's no. There are in fact some society who don't accept that. Okay, then you have this download button if it's open access, so you get the paper. But if the paper is not yet in open access, like this blue one, then you have here an upload button. And if you click on the upload button, I'm going to demonstrate what's happened. Though you get this Sherpa Romeo will tell you which version you are allowed to upload, preprint, postprint, or published version. Then, because now it's you, the author, who is going to deposit the paper. Though disseminate will ask you to register. We don't take any data on you, but we just want to trace the fact that it's Mr. So who has deposited this paper, and hopefully he is the author. So we ask you to register on the platform, and then you just choose which version you want to deposit. Okay, you have prepared on your desktop the PDF of your paper. You drag it to here, and you click there, and then you click on deposit. And in the present version of the platform, the paper is deposited on Zenodo. So Zenodo, it's an open repository which is financed by the European Commission and which is physically at CERN. And the nice thing with this open repository for any field, it's not disciplinary, anyone can put it. What you have to think is that when your paper is on an open repository, which is of high quality, I will explain later that it's important to guarantee the perennity, that means the long-term existence of your repository, then it's not important where it is, because everyone can harvest. It's somewhere on the web, and Google Scholar see it, everyone see it, and you can download it. This is what is important. If your paper, and this is the case what I'm doing that, is on your personal website. My personal website, of course, Google find it, but I'm not going to live forever. Though my personal website will have a limited existence, which means in this sense it's not long-term open access. It's not the proper solution to have it on your, it's good to have it, but don't consider it safe on the long term. Your paper is going to disappear with you.
This is something that Marie made me aware. I thought I was being perfectly good by putting all my papers on my personal website. And then she said, someday you'll die. Your papers will die with you.
You just forgot.
Yeah, I forgot.
Everyone
forgot. I didn't think about dying, but I didn't think about my papers after I died. I thought I had other problems.
Well, dying, and dying is not something that anyone here has experience of.
Yes.
That's why we forget. We never live that. Yes.
It's hard enough to close your Facebook account and all the rest, but also your scientific papers. Gotta make sure they're okay.
So then, right away, the paper is on Zenodo, and then you can download it. And why it's so simple? What disseminate does, it's so simple. Why in only one click? It's because disseminate has already harvested all the metadata. You know what are the metadata? You know that your paper, now modern paper, they all have a DOI, Digital Object Identifier. What does it mean? It means that the metadata of your paper are made public, and metadata is very simple. It's the title of your paper, the list of the author, the affiliation of the author, and the abstract. Okay? So this is something where everyone can find on the web. The sad thing, the paper itself, that means the text of the paper, no, is behind paywall. Publishers love to advertise for paper. This is why they have made DOI and as something produced by, the idea, the concept was started by publisher. It's a very good tool, but what we need as scientists, we need the text. We not only need the metadata. Like librarians love to have metadata because they are not that interested about reading the paper themselves, but we scientists, we want the text. So it's very important to insist that on the open repository, we need the full text. Just having the metadata, it's not enough. Oh. Okay, then an important thing with disseminate, everything is on GitHub. It's open source. We absolutely insist that everything is open source. We have this very tiny not-for-profit organization, and we want to be an anti-startup. What does this mean? We want to have no value on the market. That's why, because we don't want to be bought by Elsevier, as many startups have been doing. You probably know Mendeley. I mean, the people who create Mendeley, they were very much against publisher. But when they were offered such a huge amount of money, then it's tempting. Okay, though in our case, since everything is open source, everyone can download the code and use it. And one thing you can do with the code, also another very nice thing to have it on GitHub, everyone who wants to participate, to help us to develop it, you are most welcome. Though disseminate has been started on the 21st of September 2014 by Antonin. That's all the activity to develop disseminate. You see that Antonin has been doing most of the job, but sometimes we have really nice, you have nice surprise. For instance, Ryan joined us. He's just school, he's like in lycée. You see, high school, you see? And he's developing, and he's excellent, because everything is in Python, and the young know Python now. Okay, then another thing you can do with disseminate, we did it for École Normale. If your institution provides a list of all the researchers of this institution, with disseminate you can generate for each department the aggregation of all the paper per department. And then when you click here, I can demonstrate it on the platform, you could see which paper has been just, for each category you click, then you see the statistics, how many, and which paper. If you click on that, you get the list of the member of the department. Maybe I click it here, yes, and then you know for each one you click, and then you have the list of paper. Okay, though, if you want to know more, you go to disseminate, GitHub, Antonin, and the team. They are very modern. Everything is done on the web. Though now, if we still have like 3-4 minutes before opening the debate, I'm putting more general ideas, more kind of principle. For me, a very general principle that, thanks to Elinor Ostrom, I love to do this quiz. Who have heard about Elinor Ostrom here? No one knows Elinor Ostrom? Oh, sad. Okay, she's the only woman Nobel Prize of Economics. And she's really a major scientist. And I advise to everyone this book, Understanding Knowledge as a Commons, MIT Press 2006. Though, the principle here is the following. You know, research is about knowledge, is about ideas. When I have an idea, we have been doing that all that week, we share the idea together. When I give you my idea by giving a seminar, I don't lose my idea. Not only I keep my idea, but now I get friends who can discuss my idea. It's a plus. If then a merchandise is different, this is an object. If I give you this object, I lose it, then you have to compensate me for by giving me some money. Though ideas, they are not merchandise. What we are doing has to do with knowledge. It's like language. I mean, one day there will be a company who is going to patent something related to language, and we have to pay for, you see. We are just at this level of nonsense, and we have to be extremely careful. What we are doing has to do with knowledge, and if we let that trade as a merchandise, we will not be able to develop it as well as it has been done until now. Though, for me, knowledge is not a product to be traded. It is a commons to be shared. Very different. Okay, so as Laurette beautifully explained, today investment for writing, peer reviewing are public, paid on, federal money in the United States or in France, public. And worse than that, the ownership of the journal and all the assets of the journal is let to the publisher. You see, that's really dangerous because they make profit by owning all that. And now they also make profit by asking article processing charge. So you have kind of investment are public and profit are private. Okay, so the solution is, again, the new model for the 21st century and go further on should not be imported from the previous, I like to say the previous millennium, in fact. Okay? And which means we have to change the model. And changing the business model, the proposal is that publisher should no more be content owner. They should be service provider. And they should be service provider to this publishing platform, which are publicly owned and publicly funded. What is a publishing platform? You all probably one day in your life send a paper or review a paper for Elsevier. Therefore, you know Elsevier obliges you to use the Elsevier editorial system. What is this? This is a platform. And the problem, this platform is private, which means all the exchange, all your referee report, all the exchange with author, editor, and referee as belong to Elsevier because we use their platform. Okay? Then, of course, when we put the paper in their journal and sign the copyright agreement, we give them the ownership of the paper, but they also have the ownership of the journal, which is even worse. Because when you are editors in some of their journal and you are not happy with the way they treat you, you cannot do anything. You can go to another publisher. I've participated to the creation of a new journal of mathematics called Applied and Computational Harmonic Analysis, which was in 1993 the first issue, and that was, we were with Academic Press. But in year 2000, Elsevier bought Academic Press, without, of course, no one asked us.
Hence JCP, for those who publish in JFONC.
Yeah, and
Elsevier.
Elsevier bought actually Pergamon. They bought a lot. You know, as Morgan Stanley, the report that Laurette mentioned, were explaining investors that the best investment is in scientific publication. They are smart people. They knew that, though they start buying all the journals who have a lot of value, and the publisher were publishing those journals. And the day that's happened, now it's too late because they control that, they own that.
In fact, it was always strange. That is to say, the scientists do all the work, and we're all very informal among ourselves. Do you ask to get paid to referee? No. Do you ask to get paid for a lecture? No. We all just kind of exchange in a kind of social way.
Right, we are already paid.
But
by taxpayers.
We get our salaries, and we just kind of interact with each other. But there's this one actor in there that comes in, the journals that are a conventional business, who want the money, and they don't act that way. And the strange thing is that the journals should own the papers. That is to say, it's as if you were to build a house, plumbing, electricity, this and that, and now you have a painter. And the house then belongs to the painter. They just did the last step. Right? The house should not belong to the painter. You should own your house. You did the electricity, the carpentry, this and that. And now you hire the painter to paint it. And now you pay the painter. And now you own the house. So we should be paying for the services, whatever it is. The publishing houses are constantly telling us how much good they do for us. Well, great. Then let us know. We pay for that. that service, and then the paper, we pay whatever it's worth, and then the papers should be ours. They should not be theirs any more than the printer that prints the invitation to your party should be the one who has the party. You know, that's just the last step. The articles should be ours, not the painters who did the last step.
That's a great point.
What happens when you die? Well, then you,
Your children take care.
Okay, not you, maybe the community or something. But there's no reason why they should belong to the publishers. They are just the last step in a long process that was paid for by somebody else. That is to say, your research funding and the people that paid your salary, you know, the university, the whatever, who paid your salary and who paid for your offices and your grant that paid your equipment, this and that. Why does all that then? What other industry has the workers then leave at the end of the day and give the product that they made? You know, they're making cars in a factory, and now you go, or smaller things, lamps, and you go out and give it to somebody else for free. It's very strange that it's strange that the universities and NSF and so on should not only allow but encourage this practice. Why do they pay us? And then to give the final result, the articles, to the publishing companies. The publishing companies should not own the articles.
Yeah, but
somebody else should. Maybe not you personally.
No, but
White said, what if you die? You own your articles and you die, and then what? Okay, so somebody else should own it. Maybe the NSF itself, or the Commons or Archive.
But you see, Laurette, now a publisher will tell you, oh, no, we don't own the
I don't
papers
care what
anymore
they
because
say.
no, it's open access. You know, now we enter the open access model. The open access means the reader don't pay, which is great because for the first time our paper will be read by some companies who may benefit a lot from some results we have.
And third world countries.
And third world countries, of course, retired scientists, young students who don't have access to the nice, a nice library, and also citizens. In medicine, now that things are more and more open access, the impact on citizens and citizens re-injecting knowledge interacting with scientists is developing well. Though that's what we call open science, and we are for that. But then publishers, no, they are okay for that, but under a condition that no, we are going to lose our business, though we need to have the author paying for publishing in open access. So the so-called gold open access model, the name has been chosen by the publisher, mean that everyone can read your paper for free. It's good, under the condition that you pay from between $2,000 up to $3,000 for publishing your paper. And though we are back to the problem, like Laurette is saying, of course, in this case, the article doesn't belong to the publisher. It stays with the author, because you probably know you put your paper under so-called Creative Commons license, which means you keep your copyright and you allow anyone to copy your paper, publish your paper, including the publisher. But now the problem, they still own the journals. And though it should not own the journals. And you probably know also, the tendency now, and it's good for the sake of science, that the data should be attached with the paper. The data either used or produced during a given research presented in that paper should be attached to the paper. Same with the code. If you have some algorithms, the code should be attached to. But then you have the publisher asks you to put all that material on their website, which is the website of the journal. And by doing that, you give them the control again and again. There is this danger. So we have to get that out of this private system and try to find a way to maintain some academic, open, and on this so-called platform. But the platform, again, should be open source, open data, and publicly owned. Or at least the funding agencies should control that there is not one person getting the exclusive ownership of that.
Maybe, so that there's time you could ask for comments and questions and so on?
I'm just finishing, and then we can, you can ask questions if you want on the way, but we can also open the ground for discussion just after. I think 2 slides left. So this is a solution we propose that we call Diamond Open Access, where authors keep their copyright, all the articles are under Creative Commons license. If someone doesn't know about it, I'm ready to explain in detail that it's typically CC BY. What does it mean? It means your paper, you still have the ownership, but you allow anyone to copy it, to reuse it, and so, under the condition that they quote your name, that you have the attribution. The rest is for free. You can even make money. A publisher wants to make money with your paper, then let him make money because he's disseminating your work. Then, second condition, the editorial board should own the journal, title and assets, which means an editorial board is very important because this is a group of scientists who takes the responsibility of the quality of the peer reviewing. Though there should be some recognition for this very high expertise and a lot of work, as you all know. And then the idea that the group of the editorial board is a college of editors, which then should have be a legal entity owning the journal and all its assets. And I don't want to have a system where you have like a society owning 30 different journals, because they will behave like publishers. They will have good and bad, and they will try to try to push you to buy the bad because, you see. Though for me, it's one journal should be very specialized, because we do some research to do high quality peer reviewing. It has to be made at a very specialized level by the people who can understand the content of the paper. And those people will have the control of the peer reviewing and of the journal by owning the journal. What does this mean? With this model then, the editorial board can choose who is the publisher they prefer. They are now empowered in a way that they can decide, okay, Elsevier offer me a very good service, okay, my journal will be published with Elsevier. But the day they are not happy with Elsevier, they go to another one. They go to a society, for instance, or they go, that's what we really hope to develop, they go to some platform which are already offered by the funding agencies, facilities, or like infrastructure. You know, in our work, we use a lot of platform, like a computer center. It's a service. A telescope, it's a service which is directly financed by the funding agencies to help us to do our work. Though for publishing, it's the same. We need the same kind of platform like Elsevier is having, Elsevier editorial system, but made public, paid publicly, and offered to us to publish for free our journal. And with such a platform, now you will have a new feedback in the system, which I think is important. Because for the first time, you see, a platform will be like, when you ask a computer time on a supercomputer center, they ask you proof that you are doing a good job with this platform. You understand? Though, in this case, you are an editorial board. You have a journal. Not to get free access to this platform, you have to prove that your journal is high quality enough, that the community appreciates it, and that you are doing good practice for peer reviewing. Though they will accept your journal only under the condition that you can prove you are doing good practice. What is good practice? What are bad practice? I can give some example, even I can give a name because I've been witnessing that. Journal of Computational Physics, accept your paper with 3 lines. Oh, it's a very good paper and we accept it. This is not peer reviewing. I'm very sorry.
It hasn't been my experience with Check.
No, we have it. I can prove it.
So
no, that's just.
People are leaving, so they won't have any questions or comments. No, they really are right now.
It's finished. My last slide. Let's open the floor for questions.
Yeah, you have to open the floor.
I have something before I read. You know,
yes, please.
UC is open access. I don't know if you're aware of it.
Sorry?
The whole UC system is open access.
Well, because of green, because of repository, that's what we are advertising for.
And it has a platform, eScholarship.
Yeah, I know, of course.
Why should they use your platform? Why should
No. That's a very good question. Oh, please stay here. What disseminate is not at all like an open repository. You have open repository in UC system, which is great. That's what we recommend. Green open access is a wiser model. The wiser solution is the green open access model. That means open repository. That means that UC is doing. Keep going. But you need us. Why? Because if your scientists are not putting their paper in your platform, what do? Your platform will be empty. I know several of those platforms, they are just empty because scientists say, oh no, why I'm going to put my paper in UC? Because I have many co-authors in Japan, in other places, they are not interested in UC platform. I want to put my paper in archive. And then your platform UC is going to be, without anything. Though your platform, you see, if you want to fill it, I consider you should let the freedom to your, scientists to deposit where they want, as long as it's a good open repository somewhere. And then you harvest, exactly like disseminate does. We harvest, but we just make the link.
Yeah.
We don't have the data. We just make the link between...
Yes, that's why scholarship will do it. If you have something deposited in, say, archive,
Yes.
then you can just put the link
That's
in the
it.
archive
That's
paper
it.
Perfect, yeah.
in
Yeah,
scholarship.
but to make the link, okay, well, you know about archive, but maybe your scientists I put in a repository that you don't know about it. Therefore, you need quite a good tool to be able to harvest a large number of those. That's actually the kind of service disseminate is offering. You see? There is some... one solution is to put mandatory, like the Liège University is doing, because they have a very strong rector named Bernard Rentier, who say, okay, for your promotion, I not only take into account the paper which is on the archive of Université de Liège, though you see, system can have this policy saying, I don't mind if your paper is not, if I don't have a copy of your paper on my archive, I don't know about your other publication. You can have this policy. It's a kind of drastic one and it's work. But if you don't have it, then you need to have these tools which are able to harvest all over the place. Scholar Googles do that. Google Scholar do that. Simply, Google has a lot of means. It's not a small business to be able to do this large-scale harvesting. And this is the kind of service we are trying to develop with disseminate. And since it's an open source software, my advice is that you just, if you are in the UC system, keep an eye open on that, follow if it brings some help to you, take it, put it on your system, improve it. If you improve it, please put the improvement into GitHub that will benefit from your improvement, and everyone will be happy. This is, okay, do you have other, this is another thing we are developing with disseminate. I didn't have time to explain, but it's a very nice tool. As you have the DOI, Digital Object Identifier, when it's point to a link, it's normally the link of the publisher. Okay, therefore it's under a paywall, the standard one. Okay, but now we have a trick to substitute the DOI by DOAI, which point for a paper. You have many versions of the paper. Some are behind paywall and some are open. Though we put the open, we put the link, the priority will be the link to the open. That's the idea. And I think it's an important tool because like that, when a paper reference, there will be priority to the open access version versus the paywall version. You see, I can explain more in detail if you want. And you go to disseminate website and you will get the details on that. Okay.
What about the role of scientific societies? It's sort of like they're being cut out, and in some sense, they're part of the community. They're building the community. They foster the community. It is true they use these journals as a cash cow to fund, but they're funding activities which, by and large, are beneficial to us as a whole.
That's what I agree with that. I feel the money doesn't leave the community.
Yes, so
absolutely, that's what I'm
this
for.
model basically.
I agree, but money has different opinions.
So that's what
my point is that we should be keep our eyes open about good and bad practice. And I know several society was really bad practice. And for me, a good practice, for instance, is, let's give an example of good practice. American Physical Society, the paper which are published in a journal of APS, on the day of its publication, you have the right to put the published version public. You see, that means to put it on a website. This is very important tool. If that's a good practice, I will not complain at all. And I'm completely ready that those journals remain under subscription as long as this right is made. Because that means my paper will be open access the day it's published because I take care of put it on a website, an open repository.
So I just have a comment. I fully agree with you because I think the primary here, there's been a lot of focus on the money and the profit of these companies, but I think the primary thing is injustice, like lack of access to science.
That's it. That's it.
So
You're right.
it doesn't matter really if the societies, the money is coming back to us. If third world countries cannot access your, I think that's even more important.
Yeah,
than
that's
they can make the money they want in a way.
You're very, very right. I have I have a website that everyone can look at it. I hope it's connecting now. Maybe it's not connecting. I hope I'm still in the system here.
Still there.
Okay, it's coming, it's coming. Well, anyway, on this, I have plenty of paper. And for instance, there is a paper published recently in the Journal of the Royal Society by Raghavendra Gadekar. Raghavendra Gadekar is president of the Indian National Academy of Science. And he has a very nice paper saying that the author pay model is absolutely unacceptable. And especially because when you are in a country which doesn't have enough money, you have no access to what is, okay, in the past you have no access to read, but now you cannot even publish.
Well, the two things, there's not even, but I...
No, but it's even worse. He's saying, I'm very sorry, if I have to choose between two evils, not being able to read the paper of my colleague, not being able to publish, I will prefer not to be able to read the paper of my colleague and still be able to publish, which is the old model.
But many of the best journal, APS or so, they have different tier pricing, as you know, for different, for third developing countries and all that stuff. That doesn't make it free, I understand. It's still an objection, absolutely. But they do have different tiered pricing for things, and that's what a correct institution should do.
Well,
and I actually believe that even Elsevier does this, although I hate to say anything.
No,
But as you know, APS will, those journals are available in public libraries.
Yeah, so that's good practice, right?
Yeah, that's good. And if the Europeans would ask for them, they'd be available in European libraries too. At least APS has indicated that they would be willing to do that. And I think that would probably be true elsewhere in the world. So I'm just saying, there are, that.
You have to go to institutions that have our interests at heart, and then work with them to have our interests more at heart. And I think I agree.
But I will say that I think even given what the current status of what, let's say, a model institution, let's say APS is doing, I think there are concerns about the financial sustainability of the current practices. Yeah. So that's why, there has to be.
That's right.
No, the transition is very tough. To tell you the truth, transition is very tough. The model we propose, Diamond, well, I should have mentioned that it already exists. There are several journals who are using that. Actually, even a lot. But the problem, they are not the major journal, because the major journal, the famous one, are in the hand of publishers who don't want to leave it. We have tried among the mathematicians of the International Mathematical Union to push the idea of emancipation of journal. And few journals have already succeeded, like Topology. But that work only if the editorial board is very, very strong at saying we all resign, and then we create another journal with the same team equivalent. And though at this stage, this doesn't work well. There are very few examples which have succeeded. This is why I do prefer to say, let's keep the model with subscription for a while, but be extremely careful of publishers who want to go right away to the gold open access model. You know why? Because in the gold open access model, they will now impose that, and there will be no alternatives. This will be the business model going on forever, because we will have no chance to develop other alternatives.
And Rodolfo wants to say something?
And the green model, the repository, you don't need it anymore, because everything will be open access. You see what I mean? Your UC Berkeley repository, you don't need it. All the papers, the DEG, everything is gold, everything is open access. But UC Berkeley, if your scientists publish a lot, you are going to be bankrupt because you cannot afford the article processing charge. Because we let the publisher decide how much they want. You see, that's the risk if we don't try to think twice now. Your whole physicists is here. We are in a phase transition, a major phase transition from printing to printing industry for publishing and electronic publishing, plus the internet. This has nothing to do with. So going from one to the other, you have an infinite of possible solutions, and we should let the system test many solutions before finding some optimal one. And going too fast into the gold open access model just means letting the publisher control our life or the way we publish.
And Rodolfo wanted to say something? He used to want to say something, but now he forgot what it was.
I was going to ask you a question of what's your opinion about eLife and the recent decision.
Excellent, excellent. I know the people of eLife. It's a really good move. You know why? Because you have famous scientists behind. It's made by scientists for scientists, and they have this respectability of the group who was starting eLife.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Well, it's an open access model, new journal, which has been started. The name of the man Nobel Prize who did it, I forgot his name, unfortunately. I know someone in the group, but not him personally. Okay, I'm sad not to get access to this platform. Yes, probably, but I don't understand. Oh, maybe this room, there is no Wi-Fi access in this room.
No, there's Wi-Fi.
Okay, that's why I cannot access to it.
We wouldn't be here.
But no, eLife.
Also, another point on that. You complain a lot, but everybody here uses Mac, and I also believe in open source software.
So sorry?
Everybody here uses Mac, and Mac is probably just as bad as...
Max Linux.
No. It's, first of all, it's BSD, it's not Linux.
I completely...
Whatever, I have lots of free software on my Mac.
I completely buy that, but
what's the problem? I mean, you pay for the...
But they lock you in.
No, and they have...
I mean, it's also about proprietary word formats, and like, you can't open Word documents on...
Yeah, but it works. I pay because it works.
No, but they're okay. I was Mac for a long time. I was also Linux at some stage, and most of the difficulty with Linux is that you were having problem with the drivers. You were always, Linux, the new model, you didn't have the right driver. Although at this stage I moved to Mac, but now I want to get out of Mac again. You know why? Because I discovered before preparing this talk and other talk that my system is completely unstable because they change my system very often. And what they do, all the open source, you see, I have things like Audacity and things like that, they disinstall it. I have noticed, I have some open source disinstall, and when I want to install it, the system says, I cannot install it because the developer is unknown. And when I saw that, now, finished for me with Apple. I'm very sorry. If I'm not allowed to put on my own computer...
I get this all the time, that you're supposed to click this and this and this.
Wait.
Right? I get this all the time. I opened all these things.
Okay, I've tried.
I'll do it for you. I'll open them all.
Oh, you're very sweet. I appreciate, but I agree your point. I'm very much into your direction. That for the future, again, you have to be very, very careful because the trend is about closing all that and making open source under control. That's there are a lot of companies who know they do open source. You probably know Microsoft. All the big companies are very much for open source, but they are not for the viral open source. What it should be. That means if I have a code open source and I take it for free, I install it, I develop it, the development should not be closed. It should remain open source. And they do the contrary. They take it for free because it's on the web. How fantastic, developed by nice people. And then they add a little piece of software and they close it.
The painter owns the house.
Yeah. No, that's happened.
That's why I say BSD comes from...
Yeah, that's right. BSD is different.
Yeah. But GNU is the one that forces you. If you develop
exactly. GNU is viral, yes, because of Richard Stallman, who has been very clear from the beginning, yes.
Javier is a very funny person.
I know, I met him, I know. But these kind of issues have been faced by open source people. We face it by open access because the problem is more or less the same. We do the work, and the question, do you want to control what we are doing and keep control of what we are doing, or do we let outsiders do a lot of things that we cannot control? I'm very happy with service provider. but I want to control what they do. It's exactly what Laurette is saying. If you have a painter in your house and he do something wrong, you tell him, and then you take another company for the painting. Now we can't with this kind of business model we are in. No, they own everything. Though we are the poor guy who have to just accept the condition. And I think it's a danger even for the creativity of research, because we are not going to exchange as freely as before, and we need more and more to exchange the data and to keep the data open. If the data are getting closed, because they are in some databases which has been designed by people who just want we pay for accessing to that, we are finished. Or we are not finished, but we need to be very rich, but we are not yet. See. Okay, so are there some other questions or comments? Well, anyway, thanks for coming.
Thank you.